Hi, this is Artsy Wisdom. My name is Diane. Thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to share with you my visions that I saw on some global stuff, and I'll tell you what those are. I got into Kate's energy again to see what was happening after, the diagnosis, where she's at now. And actually, I was really curious about her and William's relationship because I heard so many bad things about it. Like he has a crazy temper and they're getting a divorce. And so I wanted to get in their energy and see what was real and what wasn't. If I can see what's real, I don't know. But thought I'm going to share that with you. I also looked into UK immigration, touched on the US immigration. I got Pakistan. Somebody had asked me about looking into Pakistan. And the images were very interesting. India as well. I looked at Pakistan and India. I also looked into Haiti's mess. It's terrible right now. And to see what may be the future. Is there any way that's shifting at the moment with all the killing? And if you don't know, I have notes because sometimes I can't remember. Once I see it, if I don't write it down, I'll forget it. And I also looked into the Congress, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mike Johnson, and all their shenanigans and how that's going to work out. Yeah, and I have some other little tidbits I'll throw in. Thank you again, and I love all your comments. I love that you guys ask questions. Thank you. Like I said before, I don't always comment. I try to, but I read them all. So thank you. And those of you who wrote those very kind and thoughtful comments below the last video that I did for Kate, when she came, when she talked about the news that they found cancer in her post-surgery cells. Yeah, I just wanted to chat with you guys about that. And I loved how you commented and what you said. It's all very beautiful and it was very kind. All right, so I think that is it. So let's get started. And for those of you who don't know, when I do see these images, many times they're desserts. And somehow, because I like to bake, that's how I relate to these images, and I try to decipher them. And when I did see last week, when I looked at Kate and her situation where they couldn't find her and didn't know what was going on, I saw her as a big sheet of fondant. And it was not thick. It wasn't strong. Like most people or most situations I see, if there's a cake or a dessert or whatever involved, it's usually something that's three-dimensional and it has, it's like a sweet treat or whatever. Like William was cookies with ice cream sandwich with candles around. And it was really cool. And King Charles was a slice of carrot cake. If you're interested in that, you can go back a couple videos ago. But for her, she was a sheet of fondant, and I didn't put two and two together. I didn't realize, I thought, well, she just seems like she's laying there. She's not going anywhere. And I knew she had gone through a depression and she was really sad. And she was dealing with some physical changes. I knew she was adjusting. That's the feeling I got. She was really adjusting and she didn't like it. And she felt that her whole world was changing. Not just, from her body, but also the family, everything, because of William's future job. And just everything she was having a hard time handling it. But when I saw the fondant, I didn't see it strong. It was just thin layers of fondant, maybe white chocolate and raspberry. Maybe between was raspberry. Because that makes no sense to have raspberry in the bottom because then it would be gooey. Anyway, so then I realized that's what it was. So she was just laying and she's very kind of weak. So today I went back into her energy and I could feel the relief because she came out and she told everybody on that video. I could feel the relief, but I also felt this very deep fatigue, so heavy. Now I've had chemotherapy. I had it for 16 weeks, every other week, which is a lot, and it's exhausting. Your body is just adjusting to this poison that's killing most of the quick reproducing cells in your hair, stomach, and all that. I don't know what kind she has, but that's the kind I had. So it just feels so drained. So that's the one thing I did feel. So I saw her fondant and I saw a hole in it at this point. I didn't see that the other day. I saw a hole in it, which scared me because I thought, well, maybe, something's happening with her organs or they have to cut, God forbid, cut her open or something like that. But what was interesting is as she's laying there, I saw something green start to grow from underneath. And then I was like, oh, that's weird because she's fondant. And then this green stalk grew and grew and grew, and it turned into this tree. This beautiful, lovely shade tree that was much wider than her and thick and beautiful, like a summertime shade tree that you would lay under when you fall asleep outside. That's the feeling I got. And I realized this is her healing tree. This tree is covering her, and she's resting and she's sleeping and her body's recovering. This is her healing place. And now that she's spoken up and said what's happening, I think there's a analogy with from coming from within, the healing can now occur in a grander, more substantial way. And it's also more natural to some degree. Maybe she's not, the trauma of holding that in is gone. So now it's more about her just focusing on herself and resting and underneath the tree. So I thought that was just a really lovely analogy. I did look, like I said, I wondered about their relationship because her and William, like I said, people, they're getting a divorce, they're fighting, he's having an affair, it's all really bad, they never talk, and whatever. So I got into William first, and I saw like slices, like books on a shelf, like very linear things. Like he looks at, I don't know if it's life, but it's, got this and this and this. Maybe it's tasks, maybe it's his day or his agenda. But I almost think of it as his life and how he's maybe rigid, but it felt more like this is how he thinks. It's like little soldiers, but lined up things in a row, like file cabinets or books on a shelf or something like that. And it was organized to a lot of degrees. So that's how he looked at his life or his days, or it wasn't about his marriage necessarily. It was just him. And then when I asked, I got into his, like how he looked at her. He sees her as beautiful and, because when I get into a person, I look into I feel like I'm in them in a way. I'm remotely in them. So I look to her, and he looks at her and he notices how beautiful she is. I do think he thinks she's too thin, even though I know maybe, in that position where you're showing yourself to the world, maybe he doesn't appreciate her gaining any weight. But I do think at this point, I think he feels like she's too thin. And maybe it's having to do with her recover, taking chemo and everything, and she is really thin. But I see him looking at her, and when I asked, so first things, it's kind of a weird thing, but I wanted to know about their sex life, if they were adventurous or if they, or it was healthy, because I thought, well, if they aren't relating, they don't like each other, or, they're fighting or whatever. I don't think that's true. So the sex is very robotic. That's the information I got. It was more her. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not. Just saying. I feel like it's not passionate. I mean, it's still happening, but it's not like weird stuff in the kitchen or anything like that. And I'm sure it has to do with privacy and all the people there. But yeah. So there's that. So I felt like they're in this position, so they have to be the way they are, and that kind of leads to the bedroom and how that would be in there. So there's not a lot of release, you know what I'm saying. So when I asked about their relationship, what I saw was a bag. It was like a velvet fabric bag, and it was kind of green and mottled. Maybe not velvet, but it was tied. And I was like, oh, And maybe it's an analogy or a metaphor for mixed bag, and I think that's what it is. But when I asked, can I look inside what's going on between you two, and they wouldn't let me. So it's very private. And the essence or the ultimate feeling I got was that there is really good things that they're doing together. And there's difficult things that they argue about a lot, and both of them want their way. In any marriage, that's basically what that is. But it was more there, and this bag was really heavy, and they carry it with them all everywhere together is what they're doing. I went back in time and I said, what was it like when you were younger? Was it different? Has it always been like this? And there was more free and fun, but I also went into his time back then, and that energy took me to where he is now, where I could feel this deep pain and trauma that is feeding his emotional behavior now. And of course, we know about his mother, but his father, I got that he thinks he's weak, and which is surprising. So I think I'm picturing it going like his grandfather Philip. I feel like he wants to emulate that, and Philip was a no filter, kind of harsh guy. And I think ultimately, William will start to take after him, not even his grandmother. It'll be more towards Philip, which I find interesting. So when he was younger, I could feel that pain, that trauma, and it got covered up. And because he couldn't process it, maybe he went to therapists. I have no idea. And I'm sure he did. I'm sure they did. But it's still, he's a Cancer. He feels so deeply. Cancers are so connected to their mothers, for good or for bad. If you're, especially men, if a Cancer man has a shitty mom, it stays with him for the rest of his life. Or other way too is if he's got a great mom, it's a huge impact on his life as well. But for Cancer men, they're very sensitive. So ultimately, as you know, Diana got killed in the car crash. So she left them, and he was very close to her. So he still has that pain. So my point is that it's feeding their his and Katherine's relationship. He may not want it to. He may not be even aware of it. But that trauma, that pain, and the pain leads to anger, because with men, they have a hard time. And I'm sorry, this is not all men, but most men. Instead of feeling sadness, it goes to anger. And I don't know if it's whatever, you don't want to show weakness or brain chemistry, whatever, but they tend to get angry before they sometimes adjust that actually this is the painful thing. So he did that, and he's doing that. And so I think he snaps at her. I think William is very sharp-tongued. I think she pushes back to some degree, but I can sense that she has heard him enough when he's blasting about things, and she backs down and just lets him calm down. I do think that they do have arguments, but in this mixed bag of things, I think they also have this very deep bond. I'm pretty sure he fooled around at some point. I know people have said that, and I was like, oh, really? But I do feel like it's possible, for him. And I do think in the future, that's going to happen. And Henry VIII popped in my head, not about divorces, but about having multiple women. And I think there was rumors too about Prince Philip doing the same thing. They might ultimately get divorced, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. He's going to get, as he matures, William is going to get more, I got the feeling he's going to get more harsh, not softer. Like, I think Charles softened. I think William might get more, I shouldn't say harsh, that's too strong a word. He's going to get more conservative or more strict in his views. And because he will have the highest power in the monarchy at some point, he'll be able to fulfill those rules and make sure people follow them. But like I said, it's a mixed bag. Him and Katherine, they do have a deep bond. They do love each other. She is doing her best to maintain. She's a Capricorn, so Capricorns want to conform. They love and they're ambitious too, but they also don't like things to change that much. They're pretty stubborn. They're fixed. It's just like any relationship. It's got some good points and bad points. But yeah, think some of that stuff is true. Not about the divorce anytime soon, but that he's got pain, and so it comes out. Not making excuses, but comes out in sharp-tongued and anger, and he doesn't know what to do with it. So there you go. But he's there to support her during this time. All right, this quick thing. In the past, I've seen Australia as this like old Southern Belle woman with this big skirt, like the big skirts they wore during the Civil War with the hoops underneath to make it big. Well, I saw this cape, like the same, and it just popped in my head because I haven't even thought about Australia. This big cape, like she's sweeping it over the whole island, and it it didn't lay there. It just swept over the whole island. And the feeling I got was show off. Like, when people like they're spinning and they have a pretty dress or a cape, they, look and they spin around. And that's the feeling I got was she's covering the land and showing off like, here it is, or Vanna White even like that. But in this Southern Belle, no idea what that means. I know in the past I've seen the natural resources mining. I've seen the land shifting where it's higher. Anyway, this small little tidbit. I also saw polka dots. Something with polka dots. She was wearing polka dots. So now we're still in the UK, as I was talking about Will and Kate. And I forgot to mention, I think because it's a preventative chemo, I think she's going to be fine. She's going to go on to use this as a talking point and be the representative for cancer, and she will use that to the highest level possible for the country, which is wonderful, even the world. When I looked into the UK and their immigration, in the past I've seen two things. The old-fashioned English guy with a striped jacket and a top hat, and he's changed his clothes over this period of time that I've seen him, and they were torn on the bottom, and then they got all dirty and disheveled, and he went to France, and then he came back and he was just a mess. And then lately he's had a nice shirt on, and this time I saw him, he's just a representative of England. So I know that sounds weird, but he's a manifestation or anthropomorphic or personification of England. So he's sitting on a stool and he's just sitting there, but his shirt is still clean. Nothing has changed. He's not even reaching out to France. He's not doing anything different. He's just sitting there. So I did feel that Rishi Sunak is weak, and I don't know what that's about because I don't feel like he's going to get reelected in the fall. But the Union Jack came to mind, the flag. And I saw it because I'm still thinking of that guy, the top hat, old-fashioned. And he felt proud. He was in the point of being proud. So the Union Jack spread itself not on Scotland, not on Ireland, but just maybe Wales a little. Yeah, maybe Wales. And it like covered the land like completely. And it was almost like they took a rope and they tied it underneath. So the Union Jack was just wrapping the whole island with this, with the Union Jack, with the flag. And so when I had in the past seen that it was a dark stream of immigration coming through the ocean, I think they come from, in my mind, I don't know if it's accurate, from North Africa, Middle East, Morocco. I don't know, somewhere Spain. I have no idea exactly, but they come down under the water and they go up into the island. They don't go to. I thought, did they go to Spain and France or anything? But they it's spotty in Spain. It's not even like a big amount. It's like they're here and there. It's like there's no fixed way or something. I don't know. But anyway, so this Union Jack is wrapping the UK or England, not the UK, and the flow of immigrants under the water can't get in. Like they're bouncing off of the flag, like it's. And this is the first time I've seen that, because before I've seen them try to stop with the various methods with Richie Sunak with this big break and different things, and them putting a little wall there, but it hadn't worked. But this time, that flag is like, they're bouncing off. They can't get into the country. So maybe soon, or in the not too distant future, or already, they are coming up with a strategy to make it really hard or harder for immigrants to come in. I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's the image I got. Those of you who know, let me know. And then I looked into immigration in the U.S. and the horribleness that we cannot agree on a border package. Well, there's a lot of bipartisan support for one, but the Republican Senate will not approve it, or the Republican Congress won't approve it. So there's just pushback because, like I said, they need a talking point. So I do think that it is not going to change anytime soon. I had no good feeling about immigrants coming in. I feel like it's just going to continue at the rate that it is. I had a good friend who said there was somebody on TikTok, or she didn't say TikTok, she said online, showing people how to be a squatter in houses. So I looked it up, and the way it's written, and there's been people knowing this for many years, but somehow, because he's promoting it and he's got 500,000 followers, and I think he's from Venezuela, and he might even be squatting at a house for the last 2 years because the eviction laws are so very lenient for squatters. And it's an old law having to do with, abandoned houses back in the day when people traveled and they, and this property was empty. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think it's going to be a hodgepodge. They're going to work on fixing it in one part of the country where there's more, depending on the higher level of immigrants moving in, or people that are just, because it's not all immigrants, it's just random people that don't have a house. It's not just illegal immigrants or people coming over. Just know that. What I read is it just people know this thing and they take advantage of it, and they can't get evicted, and then they repair something and they say, "Oh, I want my money out of that." When you sell, it's just terrible. It really has to change. It's very old law. So I do think that's going to be shifting in many states, especially the lower states, but also places like New York and even Illinois, I think, too, in Chicago. But, that's life. Things change in a very slow way sometimes. All right, so I did immigration. So somebody had asked about Pakistan. I know very little. I know it's next to India. Actually, I got my new map, so I checked, and it is. So I saw Pakistan. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was a person. Pakistan is a person. They were putting money, or originally I didn't know what it was. They were shoving things down to their left, over their shoulder, down to their left, and that eventually became a hard corn grinder. There's a rock, and I don't know this name, but Native or Mexicans or people understand this. It's like they take it that old, or back in the day here, like hundreds of years ago, just a rock that's hollowed out, and they get another piece of rock and they grind dried corn for, cornmeal, and then they make tortillas or tamales or whatever food out of it. I saw that. And I saw it being masa, like it had been already turned into the stuff of tamales, which is filled with lard. It wasn't hard and crunchy, it was soft and gooey. Because when you make masa for tamales, you have to whip it up, whip the lard, and you mix it all up, and it's very soft and dense. And then you fill it with the meat and the chickens, or the chickens, green chili chicken, or, red chili pork, or pineapple raisins, whatever it is you use. Anyway, and then you steam it. So this is kind of soft and gooey, but they're putting it down there. So I have no idea if there's corn, but I think it's like they're grinding away and they're working. So that's it. They're working to give something away, because I already saw they were giving money away. And when I asked about, can I see who the president is, or who is in charge of doing this, I got this guy who didn't want to be seen. He's walking that way and his head is down and he's got like this. And he was dark, like had a cloak on or a hat. And he was not going to be seen. So that tells me that it's secret and there's money flowing into where I think the angle is India. But I would think India is a stronger economy. So there's some sort of exchange or some sort of, I don't know if it's laundering money, but it's somebody's getting paid off about something from Pakistan to India. And I don't know if I know there's terrorists. There's some people say that there's terrorist cells in Pakistan, that they kind of give them sanctuary there, but I could be wrong about that. But maybe that has something to do with it. But it's definitely a secret thing going on. And then I asked about this year, 2024, and I saw nothing changing. Literally the same. No big different heavy darkness or light or anybody coming along and changing. I don't see any changes. I did see that when I looked into the economy, I saw there's tech companies, but they're so weak. They're like a little piece of grass that's thin, and they could be stronger, but they're being sabotaged somehow. Like I don't know if the money's being siphoned off, or they're not focused on making them stronger. Maybe the corruption or something like that. But the ability or the parts are there, some of them, but it's not strong enough yet. So I don't see that changing maybe early next year, that part of that. They weren't rooted, because if the grass or if it's strong roots, it would be like solid, but it wasn't. It was just flopping and it was very thin. Kind of wimpy, that kind of thing. I saw that in the west of Pakistan, there was dancing and it was happiness. So I thought that when I saw that, it was regular people. It wasn't people sneaky stealing money. It was just regular people going about their day. And it might just be what the leaders want to show, but I did feel like it was authentic. There's some really good parts that are doing well, but it's just being sabotaged and weakened by siphoning off money through India to India, or in that direction, grinding away. I don't know exactly what that's. So if you want to help me figure that out. In the past, last December or January, I saw that India, there was going to be a really bad fire near water, like near a river, like in these shanty town kind of things, very poor area. And it would kind of move quickly. And I asked about that again, and it feels like the people that were there in that area where they were going to have the fire, they're doing something else. I saw nobody in this area, and they've gone to another, and now it's kind of empty. There's still houses or things. So I don't know why, but I don't see a fire like I did before. Will changes, life. Things don't always go in the same direction as, people make decisions and things get shifted. Okay, so then what I saw, that, so with India, I saw them, it's like the same direction as Pakistan, but I think it went over Pakistan to China or Russia or that way. But there's somebody like shoveling up instead of pushing down like Pakistan. India's shoveling up, like using a shovel, not just a small amount, but a shovel. And they're shoveling it and they're shooting it up toward, instead of pushing down like Pakistan's that direction. So I don't think it's China. I think it was Russia. Although China is right above there, you'd think, but it's something, yeah, Russian related, I think, or Eastern European to Russia, something connected. So money is also going somewhere else. It's not, some of it is not staying in the country. Some of it is, but I felt like it was a lot because it's a big shovel. It's being scooped up and taken out. What I felt was corruption. There was, people are getting rich, and I saw people shoving money in their pants as well. So that tells me that people are hiding money. They're maybe laundering it or doing something, and they're pocketing it and putting it in their pockets and not the economy's pockets. I did see large areas of really good quality economic business in all parts in the country. I saw lots of dense. When it's dense, I don't think it's population. It was more economy, growth, things working really well. And efficient's not the right word, but thick with a lot of possibilities, and it's working. And I'm trying to think of another analogy, but molasses isn't, it's like, anyway, if I come up with it, I'll let you know. But unfortunately, the guy, I see the leaders were laughing, and they're just having, they're just happy to get this lot of money. I also had a whiff of tobacco, and nobody around here smokes, and I was outside when I did this, so maybe it's somebody behind me going by, but I don't know if there's anybody. You guys could tell me if there's any possibility that India's starting to grow tobacco, or there's something about cigarettes, or the companies that make cigarettes. Maybe they were starting to put a plant there. I'm not sure if that's even a thing, but okay. And then I did see mining or abuse of the land. They're doing some sort of resource, natural mining for, I don't know, something to put in electric cars and kind of stuff. I don't know what that is. Uranium, or no, that's not right. Other natural resources that's going there. And they're helping, I wrote too, they're helping China and Russia so they stick together. They're all kind of one big group to try and work together to grow this deal that they have. Okay, Haiti. There's so much death. The other day when I looked, I just felt like everybody was at a standstill, waiting to see who's going to make the next move, the gangs or the warlords or the people. And it's shifted. They're now moving around, trying to gather as much momentum for for their group as possible. The killing and the horrible situation. I know they're airlifting Americans out of there because it's just degraded down to like nightmare situation. So what I did see was people leaving. Last time I saw a wall around the country. Now I see there's space where people can get out. I also see people just jumping in the ocean. I don't know if they're literally jumping in the ocean, but I saw them just, I'm leaving. I don't, regardless of if I have anything on my back, I'm going. I even saw them making cardboard box rafts and things, which I don't think is possible to travel in the ocean doing that, but maybe something. Yeah. And in the past, what I've said is Haiti has a history of violence and blood, killing, slavery, annihilation of a culture by colonization. And it's in the dirt. there is a deep hatred and anger in the dirt. And it's embedded in the soil, which is embedded in these people, these citizens' DNA, that anger. And until I picture them scraping out the dirt and trying to get it out, which of course that's, but there's almost like this is what we know. When you grow up in a traumatic family and there's always chaos and maybe even abuse, or people are never around and you want to have a relationship in later in life, and you're like, you pick people that aren't available or they're not around, is because that's your normal. That's what it's like. It's like they're normal. And it's not just like it was 30 years ago. It was like, it's long. It's like centuries old. And I saw somebody with the machete cutting the country in half, like killing itself. It's almost like a self-hatred, which makes zero sense, but that's the feeling I got. It was like, it's just, they're destroying themselves. And it's like what they know. And it's so sad. So I do see that people will leave, but there'll still be all these people left behind. And it'll be horrible. It'll be horrible for those that are left behind. I can just picture children crying and losing parents and just watching this and it would be horrible. So it's like living in a sense of hate constantly. And that's what's growing there. And so I tried to think of what could happen that's really positive for this situation, or there will be some intervention with the U.S. with, like I said, food and relief. There will be some help, but Haiti has to heal itself. And it's really hard when you have all these generational gangsters running around. So what I thought, if you want to do this, I'm going to do this, is there's definitely people there with good hearts and that believe in justice and truth and peace. In your mind's eye, you go to Haiti, and you sense where those people are and ask, and just send your strength to them. Send the belief that they can be strong for whatever it is they need to be strong for. And maybe their energy will shift a little something around them. You never know. And miracles happen every day. In an instant, things can shift. I know that's true. I'm not like delusional where I'm going, oh yeah, just happy and rainbows and everybody's going to get along. It's going to be fine. No, all we can do from our end, unless you're going to go there and help physically, is to send your positive energy to those people and grow that energy instead of saying, oh my gosh, these negative dark forces are taking away the country. Maybe put your energy towards that positive light that is there, because there's a lot of it everywhere and they hated this situation as well. Give them strength, send them strength, pray for them, ask God to give them strength, and see what happens. I mean, can't hurt. And I feel like that anything that we can do shifts energy. So before I do the US stuff, Ukraine, I don't see them getting stronger. I do see that I see Ukraine as a poppy seed roll. I make nut roll every year. It's a old family recipe. And it's rolled like a spiral, and then you slice it. Well, there's poppy seeds in some. I don't make the one with poppy seeds. I have, but not recently. And I picture that as the Ukrainian dessert or something that represents them. Strong, solid. It's not the sweetest thing. But it's delicious. And it has a lot of depth to it. So I saw them. I feel like Russia's going to keep coming in from the southeast part. They're going to get stronger now that Putin's back in. Of course, that was such a good election, super fair, and Anyway, I don't see, I see Zelensky's energy waning. I don't, I think it's possible that he could get hurt at this point, if he's in the wrong place. But I think if the United States Congress and Senate could forward the monies for them, that would make everything kind of start back up again. But right now it's pretty dire there. It's pretty heavy feeling. Okay, U.S. So I looked into Marjorie Taylor Greene's energy, and I saw her as, she's always yelling loud, and her chin's always jutting out. And I thought of her, and I realized that it's like she's got this giant mouth, and everything is falling into it, like the Congress, the Senate, the institutions, civility, kindness, thoughtfulness, intelligence, everything. She's eating it. It's like she wants to eat it. It's like she's insatiable. She wants to take it all in. She will never get enough. She will keep eating all of these things in the government, or anything that she doesn't like, which some of her likes and dislikes seem to be, they don't make sense. So I saw her and Mike Johnson, and I think his days are numbered. I've seen him in the past as the great and powerful Oz, the wizard behind the curtain, and he's trying to do all the switches, and he's off in the balloon at the end where he's going, bye. I think he's getting to be that point where he's saying bye, and he's waving, and he's getting let go, even though it's a mistake. They don't want it, but then he's kind of happy. He's like, that's what's going to happen pretty soon. I can see that. The Freedom Caucus is getting tired of him, and he doesn't have much time left. I think he, yeah. So I think that's it for the U.S. In the future, I'd look to see in 2024, I do see the economy going like gangbusters. I see it really getting better and better. Cryptocurrency, I think, is going to have some drops and dribs. I don't think it's going to explode as much as the regular economy, but it will stay strong-ish. I don't think they're going to have a big fall. I don't feel like that. I do see that housing prices are going to remain more stable, but rent is going to continue to grow. And the more people, there'll be fewer people owning more of the properties. They're going to keep grabbing them, and then the rent's going to, I know that's kind of a downer, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I think that's going to continue until there's laws that kind of limit that. And more people have expendable income because the economy will do well. So things like art, cars, products that you don't normally buy or can afford, I think people are going to spend on that, which eventually will give more jobs because other people are making whatever it is that these expendable, a nicer bathroom, or a new bike, or whatever that is. And people can make that and they get a job. So that's good. So scientists have come up with, or they've been working on potential HIV cure that eliminates disease from cells using CRISPR-Cas gene editing. So I guess they can find the HIV DNA from infected cells. It's not out, obviously, yet, but they've just been working on it. The people who won a Nobel Peace Prize in Chemistry in 2020 have had this groundbreaking method, and it's a significant challenge. Some of HIV patients are still living well, but using antiviral medications. But I think this is going to be used through a lot of different diseases. If they can isolate the cells, I mean, they're already starting to isolate different things to help with other focused genetically modified therapies for cancers and stuff like that. Same kind of thing where they can, antiviral performance management to completely inactivate HIV with a single guide RNA and cut out the viral DNA with 2 guide RNAs. Who knew? It's so good. Smart people are amazing. One of India's second richest men has created the biggest clean energy plant in Gujarat, and empowers 16 million homes. I guess he made his money on coal, and it's going to sprawl this plant in the area of a lifeless desert 5 times the size of Paris, costing 20 billion, and it will generate enough, like I said, 16 million Indian home. Eventually, the renewable farms is estimated to provide 9% of the entire Indian renewable portfolio by 2070 when it finishes in a few years. So it says it uses solar panels, wind turbines, and battery storage, and it's out in the desert where there's nothing. So, like I said, there's good people trying to do good things. Maybe there's money in it for them. Who cares? It's nice. Hopefully we can keep chipping away at this climate problem. Okay, so little positive to end on. And again, thank you. Please share and subscribe, or give me comments, or both, like, and all those things. And yeah, so till next time, take care.